श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णा प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दन पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतं पङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगा। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा। देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः। Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, communion through devotion to the Supreme Being. In the 12th verse, Sri Krishna said that greater than mere practicing of spiritual disciplines is understanding the idea about the ideal properly. Because when we are clear of the goal, then we will be able to go towards it with renewed hope and energy. Therefore he says, mere, that is to say, it's all right to have some emotional attachment, but more than that, have a true understanding of it. Therefore, Jnana Yoga comes into play, understanding the highest being. Having said that, Sri Krishna in the next few verses enumerates the characteristics of a devotee. How can we be devotees of the Lord? Or if we put it the other way, how can we make our lives a blessed ones, how can we live a life free from all prejudices, free from all concerns, free from all worries? Giving the example of a devotees, of the devotees of the Lord, Sri Krishna enumerates these 35 qualities of a devotee. 35 qualities which are something that we can all try to imbibe in our own life. So we shall study this now. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karunayevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukhakshami santushtas satatam yogi yatatma dridhanishchayaha mayyarpita mano buddhir yo madbhaktas same priyaha. 13th and 14th verse of the 12th chapter. Friendly and compassionate to all, and without any touch of hatred, devoid of possessiveness and arrogance, ever content and contemplative, alike in happiness and misery, self-controlled and firm in conviction, dedicated to me with all his heart and all his soul. Dear to me is a man who is thus devoted. So in the first two verses, Sri Krishna gives about 9 qualities. What are those? First is Sarva Bhutanam Adveshta. Sarva Bhutana means towards all beings. Adveshta, having no enmity, no hatred towards enmity. Hatred means, it is another word that is used for Advesha. Adveshta is ahimsa, that is non-injury. It's a positive quality wherein one does not cause distress to anyone. One protects oneself and does not cause distress to anyone. So Dvesha is a two-edged sword, as it were. Dvesha or hatred is a two-edged sword. If I have to hate somebody, first of all, I am poisoning myself. Hatred is like a poison. First I am poisoning myself with a kind of resentment towards the other person, and resentment can stay for a very long time throughout. Almost people suffer from resentment from the birth itself, as it were, from childhood. So it is like a poison. It will eat away into your vitals, slowly and slowly. It eats away into our vitals. Therefore, and then it also hurts the person about whom I think of erroneously or I hate. So it has got a lot of psychology behind it, this theory of hatred. The more and more we hate others, the more and more we also hate ourselves. Our inner being also becomes corrupted by that. So that is why hatred is probably one of the greatest enemies of human beings. At least animals, they act according to impulse, and they don't keep that idea of hatred in their mind at all times. Once their basic needs are fulfilled, they just stay together. can see lots of instances of this. But a human being, when I gets angry with somebody or when I hate somebody, I will refuse to even cross their shadow, as we call it. So that is the unfortunate thing that we human beings have. Having said that, one can, if our ideal is kept at a very high level, and if we keep on proceeding towards that higher ideal, then we will be able to overcome this hatred. So Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. He says Sarvabhutanam, towards all beings, towards everyone. That's why we have that famous mantra or that famous sloka, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. May all be happy, may all be free from disease and afflictions, may none be subject to misery. And then at the end, the Rishi says, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. From me, let nobody become unhappy, or let me not cause misery to anyone. This is a great prayer that we have, but it must be put into our regular practice. That I am different from the others is ignorance, says the Upanishads. Vitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. That I am different from you is due to ignorance. And aggressive ignorance is called as hatred. Aggressive ignorance. It becomes too painful. So therefore, dvesha is something, aversion is something which needs to be understood, and we need to put into practice the disciplines that are required to overcome this dvesha. It will weaken, otherwise it will weaken our mental energies. It harms us. Having said that, can we be indifferent? Suppose I don't like somebody. Can I be indifferent towards that person? So in the next topic he says, no, maitraha. Maitraha means be friendly. Do not be indifferent. If somebody is in need, even if that person is wicked, yet be of some help to that. If you have the capacity to be of some help, please do so. Because yourself is in the other being also. This is where Advaita Vedanta is very strong. It says that the same Atman is in all beings. Therefore, you cannot ignore somebody. You have to make sure that the other person is also taken care of. So that is why it says Maitraha. And there is one version of the root word of this, Mita Trayati iti Maitra. Mita means danger. Trayati, that means one who saves. One who saves another from danger is a mitra, a friend. The term mitra is commonly used in many cultures, including the Greek culture, which takes the sun god as Mitra. So Mitra is one who saves you from danger. So we can conquer this dvesha or hatred by becoming friendly. In the Dhammapada, Buddha says, Akkodhena jine kodham asadhum sadhuna jine kadariyam danena satchena alikavadinam. conquer the krodha or anger by akrodha, by having a sweet smile on your lips or by thinking something pleasant. When anger rages into our mind, just think of something that is extremely pleasant. Slowly and slowly that will go away. Akodam dena jini asadhum sadhuna jini. That's it. Asadhu means one who is not good, a wicked person. How can I win over a wicked person? By becoming good myself, by becoming kind to the other person. So here he says mitrata, that means being friendly or offering yourself to help the other person who hates you. Yes, of course, sometimes we need to be careful also. We need to protect our integrity, there is no doubt. But we need not hate that person because he or she has been nasty towards me. So, adveshta sarvabhutana maitraha. Then the third one he says, karuna. Karuna is empathy. It comes from the Sanskrit root kru. Kru means to do or to partake. Karuna means to partake in the other person's joys and sorrows. That is called as karuna. Compassion means that I partake in the other person's sorrow or joy, misery or joy. Karuna. Then nirmamaha. How can I be compassionate? By nirmama. That is, without the sense of mine. Mamakara. There are two words in Sanskrit. One is called as ahamkara. The other is mamakara. Ahankara, which he will say in the next one, is ego. And mamakara is possessiveness. Mine, mine, mine. See, not mine. Ultimately, we all belong to the divine. We have come from the divine and we go back to the divine. So, nothing is ours in the ultimate analysis. Nothing is indeed ours. When we emphasize ourselves, when we try to emphasize our own mine, I am forgetting that it really belongs to the divine. He has become everything, he is in everything. That is the truth. Therefore, all the qualities that I possess, all the possessions that I have belongs to the divine and divine alone. It belongs to the divine. So if I have got some qualities, why should I feel that they are mine? It is his. He has given it to me to use for a little while. Sri Ramakrishna used to give many examples regarding this. Says there was a magistrate and he was known to be a very strict person. And he had such an ego that he was strut with a great ego. And and then Sri Ramakrishna jocularly says, but if while he is sleeping, if he has his mouth open and his grandson comes and pees in his mouth, where would his ego be? It's a bit naughty example, but that is the truth. Where is your ego? Oh, I think, dear Mama, it is not mine. Oh, if it is God's responsibility. It is God's responsibility, or rather it is my responsibility to give back to what I have taken from the divine. That is the idea. Nirmamaha. Sri Ramakrishna always used to insist, be a trustee. You have been entrusted something and you can only be a trustee. And there is a beautiful story. There was a devotee couple, apparently this is a true story, which happened in the 1912 or something like that in India. So this devotee couple, they had 3 children. All of them were very well brought up by the parents, but the parents were extremely devoted. They always knew that everything comes from the divine and everything goes back to the divine. So during this cholera epidemic, the husband had to go away somewhere on some errands, some job, and in the meantime, the children became infected with cholera and all the 3 of them died. So the wife kept vigil, kept their bodies covered inside the house, waiting for the husband to come. When he came to the door, the wife said, "Stop there. I want to ask you a question." He said, "Yes, of course. Suppose somebody gives you some I am going somewhere, on my way back, I will come and take it back. Now, when that happens, to whom does the material that has been given belong?" Well, said, "It is the person who has given, who has kept it with me." "Ah, that is it, true. See, God has given us 3 wonderful children and He has taken all of them away. So how do you feel about it?" The husband said, "You are 100% correct. We have been only given by the divine to take care of these children. And now, if they are gone, they have gone back to the divine. They belong to the divine." So there are such wonderful people, wonderful devotees. In fact, here itself I met one devotee who had come from South Africa, who lost both of her children in a single accident. And now, both the husband and wife, they just felt that it came from the divine and it has gone back to the divine. So it is possible for us to have faith in the words of the divine, that we can say, "This does not belong to me, this is not mine, not mine." So, nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. Ahankara means ego, free from ego. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it is good to have the gentle ego, it is good to have the ripe ego, a devotee ego, servant ego. Dash Ami in Bengali used to say, Dash Ami, that means I am a servant of the divine, I am a devotee of the Lord. That kind of an ego is perfectly all right. But not the raw ego which says, I am this, I am that, I have these qualities, I have this much of wealth and so on and so forth. That is no good. One day a beating will come and it will all be taken away from you. Be always prepared for that. And he says it should not be the raw ego. And he gives the example, if you pluck a mango, when it is raw from the tree, naturally it will taste very sour. And also when a fruit is raw, unripe, if something comes and bites it, or if it's damaged, it will not grow well, grow properly. It will not become the ripe fruit. So this raw ego is the root cause of all of our troubles, definitely. And it stops the growth, our inner growth. Raw ego stops our inner growth because we put a stop and say, no, this is what I am. No, you are this plus much more. So he says here, nirmamaha nirahankaraha sama dukkha sukhaha. This is the sixth quality he talks about. Dukkha sukhaha samaha. Does not get excited when he is happy, nor get depressed when he is unhappy, which is the state of most of us. When something good happens, we reach the roof, as it were, and when something bad happens, we go down the abyss. So this pendulum of this pendulum movement of going up and down is always there. Naturally, there is no steady joy within ourselves, because sometimes it just goes high and sometimes it goes low. Naturally, there is no steadiness in our life. So he says a devotee is one, a true devotee is one who does not get excited when happy, nor does he get depressed when unhappy. Because, the Buddha says that both pleasure and pain follow a being like a shadow that follows when one is walking in the midday. It's the shadow, both are following you. Light and darkness, like just light and darkness. So the pleasure and pain is inevitable. We cannot avoid it, but we can change our attitude towards that. This is so very important in our lives. Sama dukkha sukhaha. And then he says, kshami. Kshami means forgiving, forbearing. Kshama means forgiving and forbearing. So, when we face somebody who is ungrateful towards us, or if somebody becomes ungrateful towards us, what do we do? Within us, and it will keep on accumulating interest over interest. That's what happens in our life. We are keeping on snowballing. So that is what he says here. Kshama, forgive. You may not be able to forget all the time. Some people can, but most of us cannot. Therefore, at least forgive. So do not escalate it, or do not make it appear much larger than what it really is. So for that, Buddha again, he says, what should you do, Kshama? Then you think of something that is of a good quality of the other person. You think of the good qualities of the other person. Is a person wholly or 100% bad at all times? No, every person has some good quality and some bad quality. So when you are reminded of the bad quality of somebody, try, make some effort to remember some good quality of that person also. So naturally it will balance itself. And the more I think of another person's fault, the more I lose control over my mind also, because it will be going behind that person at all times. So that is in the life of Sri Ramakrishna we find this. Of course, in the life of all saints we find this. Sri Ramakrishna became the favorite of the owner of the temple of Kali, where Sri Ramakrishna used to worship, because of his wonderful qualities. The owner liked him very much. And one day when Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the bank of the river Ganga, there was a Brahmin who also used to work in that temple, and he became very jealous of Sri Ramakrishna. He said, this man is getting all the attention of the master. So he went, and when he saw Sri Ramakrishna absorbed in divine fervor, he went and kicked him and beat him. And Sri Ramakrishna, of course, he knew who that person was. And then silently he got up and then came back, and he had bruises all over his body, and he did not mention anything of this to anybody at all. He bore with all of that without uttering a single word. Later, when his nephew came to know about this, he became very angry. He said, why didn't you say this to the master or the owner? He said, no, it was my karma that I had to get this beating, so I am happy with whatever has been done. I do not have any kind of hatred at all. So later that person apologized, and he became very remorseful. That's another thing. So Kshama is a great quality. Holy Mother Sharada Devi used to say that Kshama is a divine quality. God forgets or forgives everything that we do, every wrong thing that we do to Him. So if we forgive or if we forget the other person, then you have developed a divine quality within yourself. If I given this great urge to the divine quality to manifest itself in your being. Kshama. Santushtaha. Santushtaha means content. That is, whatever I have been given, I shall be happy with it. And there is no end to wants. Needs are very few, but wants are too many. Too much of wants. And we whinge and we whine, wanting more and more and more. More is less for us, as they say. More is less. So, there is no end to these wants. That's why Mahatma Gandhi very famously said, the earth provides enough to satisfy every person's need, but not every person's greed. So santushta is very important. Being content. Santushta. Satatam yogi. Satatam means always yogi. That means one who is connected. Yuj, to connect. That is, I have come in contact with this tremendous truth that I belong to the divine belongs to me. Keeping this thought about my contact with the divine always is the quality of a yogi. Yogi is not just a person who does some exercises, no. That is just a physical part of it. A real yogi is one who has hooked himself up to the divine, who has locked oneself to the divine, who has connected oneself to the divine. We all can be yogis if we connect ourselves to the divine. Then he says, Yatatma Yatanashila Munihi iti yatihi Yatanashilat yatihi. One who is always putting forth the effort to reach to the goal. That is one meaning. The other meaning is one who is restrained, one who has controlled the senses, one who has controlled the mind. In the Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, this imagery is given of the 5 horses, the charioteer, and the passenger in the chariot. So there are the reins that one has to hold. If the charioteer is drunk, then his grip on the reins will be loosened. So the mind is the charioteer and the senses are the horses. They are always going towards the objects of the sense, objects of enjoyment. So one has to keep them under control. Therefore, one has to be alert at all times. That is yatatma. One has to learn the art of holding back one's mind. Let it go when it is required and hold it back when it is not required. That is a person who is yatatma, who practices this control, self-control. Yatatma dridha nishchayaha. Nishchayaha dridha. That means one has a determined mind, firm in conviction. These are the 2 meanings. One who has a determined mind and one who is firm in his convictions. That means I know that the truth can be achieved, the truth can be reached. Therefore, I will make all my effort and I make a resolution, sankalpa, that I will go forward. I will not sit on my oars, but I will go forward. That is one meaning. The other is a person who does not have any doubt in the existence of the divine, of God. Firm conviction. One has to have firm conviction. Without having firm conviction, one will not be able. This firm conviction is so very important. God tests our mettle. Every now and then, God tests our mettle. Sri Ramakrishna again used to say that God tests us just like a goldsmith. When you take a piece of gold to sell to the goldsmith, he will test it with the stone, the touchstone, and he will be testing it. He will have to rub it against it. So this rubbing will go on sometimes. Sometimes, every now and then, the divine gives us these trials and tribulations. So we should be just submissive to the divine. That is the idea. If we have offered ourselves to the divine, then we will not resist. But if our surrender is partial or if it is doubtful, then we will not be able to withstand the onslaught or withstand the trials that are placed upon us. So if we want to become pure gold, if we want our ego to be melted and to be formed into a new ornament, then we must be submissive to the goldsmith, that is the divine, who is the goldsmith here in this example. So yathatma dridha nischyaha. And then he says, Mayi arpita mano buddhihi. With my mind, with your mind and understanding, dedicated to me, the Lord, he says, Same bhaktaha priyaha. Such devotee is dear to me. See, if we have to be dear to the divine, we will have to go through these qualities that Sri Krishna demands from us. We do go through them, but sometimes we do it with great resistance. With great resistance. We do not do it wholeheartedly. So Sri Krishna says, no, come to me with your arms open. Don't have any reservations about it, because I am here to protect you. I am here to take you to the other shore, across the ocean of this samsara, this worldly existence. So, in the next verse he says, Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chayah, harsha marsha bhayo dvegair, mukto yas sacha me priyaha. Who causes fear to none, and whom none can frighten, who is thus free from the agitation of the moods caused by euphoria, anger and excitement. Such a person too is dear to me. Yasman na udvijate lokaha. Who causes fear to none. See, a child, for example, does not cause fear to anyone. But a person who is extremely stern causes fear to others. So therefore he says, Yasman, no, who causes fear to nine. Be childlike, Sri Ramakrishna says. Be childlike. Difficult, but one has to try. And whom none can frighten, because there is no sense of fear in that person. There is no sense of fear at all, whom none can frighten, and who is thus free from the agitation of the moods, because there are no moods. That there is no euphoria, there is no anger, there is no excitement in such a person. He is samabuddhi. He is a person who has a steady mind, has a steadiness of mind. Such a type of person is dear to me. Sri Krishna says, we will stop here because we will take up the next verse, which is of great importance, next Sunday. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham vishwadharam gaganasadrisham meghavarnam shubhangam lakshmikantam kamalanayanam yogiridhyanagamyam vande vishnum bhavabhayaharam sarvalokaikanaatham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna.